Like, why should I dull my shine and the sort of
Yes.
person I am just to like keep people who are probably not my people happy anyways?
Welcome to Witch Talks, the series for spiritual seekers, witches, and enlightened souls. I'm Hannah the Suburban Witch, professional tarot reader, astrologer, and witch, and I hope you're ready to get up close and personal with your favourite witches. Hello, beautiful. It's so good to have you here. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Sydonie of the Quirky Cup Collective. I'll be introducing her very shortly. And I've titled this episode Spiritually Inspired because when I see Sydonie's artwork and the products that she creates, it's witch adjacent, it's magic adjacent, it is witchy inspired, it's magically inspired, it's spiritually inspired. And as you'll discover, because I end up just doing a mini astrology chart reading for her as we were chatting, you'll understand that a little bit more as we get there. This isn't one of those episodes that's here to teach you a bunch of stuff, but you will absolutely learn a bunch of stuff. You're going to learn as you hear me giving her oracle reading. You're going to learn as you hear me give her mini astrology reading. So if you like oracle, if you like astrology, you're going to learn from that. You're going to learn from Sydonie as a business owner, using her beautiful energy and how she brings those ideas out into the world. You're going to learn from us both just being Aussie creators and entrepreneurs, right? There is so much to take away and so many little amazing tidbits that you'll find that I think you're going to absolutely love it. It is a more casual conversation, and I think we need that sometimes. I've had a long couple of years doing this podcast now, breaking up with my concept of professionalism and what is okay and what's not okay. I think I've relaxed a lot, found my voice. You're welcome. And one of the really funny things is, whilst I intended to have more Australians on this season, I don't think I realized just how many I'd set up in terms of for interviews or been called to reach out to or wanted to chat with, until I started editing them all, and I was like, oh, another Aussie. Oh, another Aussie. This is great. So you're welcome. I'm hopefully expanding your worldview on Aussie-isms. As I've been editing this episode, I do realise I used the term pocket rocket, which, newsflash to Hannah, I found out whilst I was on my Euro trip, that's not a commonly understood term. I think this is an Aussie-ism. So if you're confused by the term pocket rocket, what it means is usually someone who is smaller in stature or seems like, I don't know, small in energy, but they're not, and they're like a little rocket that will go off in your pocket. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It is just something that Australians say. It's like, I don't know, Kylie Minogue would be a pocket rocket. Like, she's tiny, but she has so much energy, right? Someone that has, bouncing off the walls, chatterbox energy, or I'm going to Google it. Let me tell you. Oh my God, don't Google that. Please don't Google that, because the non-Aussie results came up first, and most of them said a penis. It's not a penis, I swear. Sydonie, if you're listening, I did not describe you as a penis. Oh my God. No. If you scroll down a little bit, it says a petite, vivacious woman. She's a little pocket rocket, meaning pint-sized hot chick. Petite enough to fit in your pocket, but able to make you go off like a rocket. Oh my God, this is really sexual. I swear, in the Australian slang, it is just, oh my God. I'm digging a hole. Okay. All right. Point of this conversation. I have a vision board in my bathroom, and on that it says weekly podcast episodes with celebrities and ordinary Australians. And I didn't realise until the other day when I was sitting on the toilet, as I'm sure you wanted to know that, right? TMI. Looking at it, because I put it right where I can look at it all the time when I'm in the shower, when I'm getting ready, whatever I'm doing, I can see my vision board, and it is my work business vision board. And I was like, oh my God, I've gone to weekly episodes. Oh my God, I'm having more like conversations with everyday Australians, and then also like people that I would consider celebrities as well. And it's just really interesting seeing how things you put on your vision board come into life and you don't even realize them until they've happened. You're like, oh my God, that's on my vision board, right? So freaking cool. My other vision board, which is like my personal life one, which is in the kitchen, had pictures of Europe on it. I just came back from Europe. Like, that wasn't even on the radar. Like, it's so freaking magical and cool. Anyway, I'm off topic. Let's get it back on topic. I'm going to introduce Sydonie. Definitely check out her products. They're super cool. Hannah, stop rambling. Let's get into it. In this episode, I'm chatting with Sydonie, creator of the Quirky Cup Collective, a unique and totally magical stationery and more store. You may have heard me talk about her products in episodes before, as I have a gorgeous Virgo tarot bag that houses my Rider-Waite-Smith deck, plus many more of her products, which I will tell you about as we go through this, I'm sure. Sydonie began the Quirky Cup Collective adventure in 2014, painting teacups with quirks as a hobby and gifts for family and friends. And since then, she has grown it into an international, unique, and magical online store. Sydonie describes it as an extension of herself as a person. And I'm so looking forward to sharing Sydonie's work and magic with you today. So let's get into it. She is joining us via Zoom all the way from Adelaide in South Australia. Hey, Sydonie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here, a fellow Aussie, which is always fun because I think sometimes the podcast is very heavily weighted to a lot of US authors and voices. And so I've been making a conscious effort to bring in more Aussies this season. So thank you for being one of them.
Oh my God, absolutely my pleasure.
Now, are you okay if I pull an oracle card to like set the tone for our chat today?
Absolutely. I'm so curious. Yes, please.
Now, do you work with oracle or tarot yourself?
No, I don't. That sounds terrible, but I don't. So this is why I'm so curious to be like, oh, what's going to come up for me today?
Yay. All right. So this one is called the Magical Spirit Oracle. It is super cute. I'm going to show you for those watching on the screen, I just dropped it, on the YouTube version. It's like very 70s vibe style, if that makes sense. I love it. It's by Alexis Raccoon and it's adorable.
I love her art so much. Sorry to interrupt, but her art is so beautiful. Yes.
Yep.
Instantly, I was like, oh my God.
So when I got this deck, I did an unboxing video on my YouTube channel. And as I'm like going through it, I'm like, why is this so familiar? And I'm sitting here going, I think I follow this creator online. And I had to like pull up my Instagram and I was like, I do. How did I not know she was making a deck? Like it didn't click for me that these pictures I'd been liking and loving were part of her oracle deck. So they are. And it's gorgeous.
I have no doubt her art is beautiful.
All right. Now, do you have a question or do you just want like a general card with advice?
General card with advice.
This one says, I'm going to show you the little picture. It says, don't worry, darling. You'll find your way.
Ooh.
And what it has this woman staring at this beautiful rose, and the rose has like an eyeball in it and it's staring back. And the card is called the Red Rose and it says, overcoming obstacles, finding joy and carefree. So it's kind of like, don't give time to the worrying aspect. Everything will work out. The things that have been probably taking up your time, those are actually like beautiful little nuggets of wisdom that you can sort of dive into. Like, I've been worrying about not being able to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, you know what? I'll figure out a way. And when I do, I'll realize that all of those things are not things I have to worry about. And then that kind of helps you moving forward with letting go of those small worries. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel very personally attacked. So that's wonderful.
So it's kind of like by giving up the worries, it proves to you that you never had to worry about them anyway. And then moving forward, your worries go down.
Yeah, I love that. I needed that today.
Yeah, there you go. Don't worry. It'll all work out. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I love roses as well when roses pop up into cards because roses have this beautiful like aspect of protection to them. Like, there's this aspect of don't worry because you are being protected, even if you don't know how. But it's a really beautiful, delicate protection that's like paving the way forward for you.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So there's a little oracle card for today.
That's my pleasure. I feel very honored and very blessed.
Well, there you go. Now, let's jump into your products because they frequently feature things like tarot, astrology, witchy themes, and that sort of a thing. What drew you into all of that?
Oh, I had to like stop and think about this one for a bit. And it was, I think, everything that I do kind of links back to childhood in some capacity. And I think I like it came to my love and curiosity of like fantasy like stories and fairy tales and like how those themes so often pop up in those stories. Part of being an adult is to like reconnect with those things. So for me, it was like reconnecting with like fantasy books and then just those themes and in particularly in artwork, I find so like I don't know how to describe it. Just I'm drawn to it. I just feel drawn. Something about it just like feels really good. So I know this is I'm not articulating it super well, but like for me, it was just yeah, a reconnection with those the curiosities of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. The curiosity of like magic out in the world.
Yeah, I think so. And just like sort of being like, well, what else? Like what else? Like they're like sort of looking for reason in the
Mhm.
world of I think it comes down to like the love of like fantasy and yeah, that's how I'm sorry. Yeah.
Fantasy, magic. You don't have, you're an artist. You don't have to have an actual reason. You can just say, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like yeah, sorry. I feel like I like when you feel like you need reasons for things, it's just like I just really like it and it feels right and it feels welcoming and it just felt like that. It felt like me. It
That's
just I
perfect.
was drawn to it. Yeah.
And you make things like tarot, like I've got one of your tarot bags. I've got it next to me. It's a little Virgo one. So it's a little like, velvet pouch that I keep my tarot deck in because if anyone else out there has the Rider Waite Smith, it comes in a flip top box, which disintegrates with a lot of use. So that
Oh.
box died a long time ago. And I was like, where do I put my cards? So I put them in this pouch. So when you create stuff like this, you don't read tarot yourself. So how did you know that this was something people wanted?
That's actually a really good question. Actually, and I think I can answer it. And it was back to when it was just pre-COVID and my like I'd obviously gone from making my teacups and all that jazz. And at the time, as I was trying to grow my business, my teacups were moving on the slower side, and these were the printed ones. And I was like, how else can I like grow, not grow my business, but like essentially survive going forward because my teacups are moving so slow. I'm like, I need accompanying things in my business to like work. And I was really like connecting with my community with the things that they wanted and were interested in. And at the time, the spiritual community was so big for me on Instagram that I started stocking books. And so this is like where I like play into like coming back into my interest and love of books. And I was like, I'm going to start selling books. And when I was like buying books, there was this amazing world of like magical books and tarot decks and like just the art of tarot decks and oracle decks. I was like, oh my Lord, like these are so beautiful. So then I started selling tarot decks and then I noticed that like the boxes were just so clunky. Like the boxes are so beautiful. I love sucker for good packaging, but like for people I think it's really inaccessible to like keep and store boxes all the time. So I don't know how I came up with it, but I was like, a pouch would be cute. Like a pouch, but actually, no, I do remember. Sorry, tangent. Because I was selling little crystals at the time, and I had these little pouch bags. And then I think people were like really loving the pouch bags for their crystals. So then I was like, well, I'll just make them bigger, and people can also use them for the tarot cards. So it was like a sort of blend of like just seeing a little gap of like cards shouldn't be tucked away in these boxes, but
Mhm.
also like this thing exists. I'm just gonna like make it a bit bigger.
And I love that because it almost plays into what you're doing now, which is things like I bought literally like a week ago. I bought a Kindle sleeve off you, which is like just a pouch for my Kindle.
Yeah, but can also be for your tarot cards. Like there are no rules. Like
Hmm.
it can chuck like store your really big chunky decks. I'm sure as well because
Yes. A lot of Oracle decks are really big. Like the cards are really big. So I have Oracle cards that wouldn't fit in this tarot
no,
bag.
absolutely not.
Absolutely fit in the Kindle one. And the good thing about the Kindle one, and I didn't realize because I read the description on the website and I don't know, my brain didn't take in the fact that there's like a pocket on the back of it.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
me, I bought the Kindle sleeve because I'm going to Europe this week, the week that we're recording this. And
Oh,
and I'm
I'm the
taking
best. I'm so
I'm gonna
jealous.
have such a good time. So I'm taking my Kindle, obviously, to read on the plane and stuff. But it's a
Yeah.
24-hour flight, and I'm not going to read for 24 hours. But I will listen to podcasts and cross stitch. but I needed something to put my cross stitch in. So the pouch actually fits all the little threads that I need, my needles,
Are you
and
serious?
my cross stitch stuff. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
That's amazing. It's so funny because that little pouch was literally just like people like, where am I going to put like my charging cable? And I was like, cool, I'll just put a pocket on the back. But I was like, it can fit your phone, it can fit pens, headphones. Like it's almost like a little purse, and I love that so much.
It's
Yeah.
like a little purse and it keeps it protected. It's like got padding in there. It feels really safe. So yes, I'm very excited to use that. I absolutely
Oh,
adore products.
that's so cute.
I wish I had it with me. I could hold it up for everyone watching. I got the green one. It's
I'm trying to think. I think I probably have one here because I have everything stored in my office. I have that like this little one,
oh, so
and
for
then
the
yeah,
guests listening, that is a lilac toned Kindle cover and it has a moon and some stars and some clouds and it's just so magical. If you love magical witchy stuff and almost like whimsy goth, that has whimsy goth vibes.
oh, thank you for doing the description for me, by the way. And then for anyone visually watching it, the little pocket on the back that
And
was
it's like
being referenced.
a satin insert on the inside and velvet on the outside with a tassel.
Yes.
Like it's perfect. So yes, oracle cards, Kindles, all of that. And a lot of witches are avid readers as well. So you've got this great crossover market there.
Thank you.
Now, I've obviously got the Virgo tarot pouch. Do you know what your big three is with your astrology?
I absolutely do. I am actually, I was going to say first, did you want to do any guesses?
Oh goodness. I if I was going to guess, I would say something with Pisces or Libra.
Pisces is my like my sun.
Mm-hmm.
So you got on with Pisces.
Yep.
I'm a Scorpio moon and an
Oh, I'm a
Aries.
Scorpio moon too.
Yes.
And
So
Aries
Scorpio
rising. Interesting.
Aries, right? Yeah.
Aries rising is really great because if I was going to say someone should be like an entrepreneur, that is like a perfect placement for that.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
entrepreneur
interesting.
vibes.
That's so
The
interesting. You learn so much about like, I mean, growing up before you like learn about its sort of moon and rising. Like you
Mhm.
always know, oh, Pisces, like that's just what I am. But then when you introduce Scorpio and Aries as like your moon and rising, I'm like, I actually don't know what that actually entails to its like full potential. So to hear that, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so with rising signs, now look, every astrologer has their own interpretations and et cetera, et cetera. I believe that the rising sign actually is what we grow into as we get older. So
Interesting.
the more you age, the more you step into that role of Aries rising. It's also what people would usually see you as or meet you as. Sometimes what
Yeah.
people can, just the identity that we put out into the world.
Yeah.
So for yourself being Aries rising, this can be some people might see you as a little pocket rocket, stubborn,
Stop.
hit challenges, straight on the head.
Yeah.
Might be prone to like a little freak out, but you cool down pretty quickly. So there's those
Mhm.
sorts of elements, and they might become more prominent as you get a little bit older as well. But
Oh
the
yeah.
other side of Aries is this like being a leader, standing up, starting new businesses, paving the way forward for like what's the word? The road less traveled, like taking your own path, not
Yeah.
worrying about people who have done it before you and copying someone. It's sort of just paving your own way forward. So there's those aspects to it as well, which is really wonderful. The
That's
funny thing
awesome.
is with the Pisces aspect, because Pisces is the very last sign and Aries is the very first sign. So you've got like this
Yeah.
whole little journey just in your big three. And
Yeah.
the Pisces will counteract that Aries energy a little bit. It
Hmm.
softens it slows it down because Aries is very like charging ahead. And
Yeah.
Pisces is kind of like, no, I'm good just here. It'll happen when it happens. So you may
Yeah.
feel that little bit of tension sometimes.
Yes.
But the Pisces aspect is very much in the whimsiness, the artistic side, the spiritual, like draw, the not really knowing how to conceptualize it, but it just is, and I just flow with it. That's very
Yeah.
Piscean in nature.
Yeah. Wow.
And Scorpio moon, as a fellow Scorpio moon, we can have very intense emotions. They can really take
Yeah.
us for a ride. the
Yeah.
the ups and downs are very intense, but they all teach us something and transform us to a deeper level. There's also
Love
an
that.
of friendships and family connections and things like that with Scorpio moons. where it's quite intense. Like we want that intensity in a relationship or with the people
Mm.
around us, and we can get
Yeah.
hurt when they don't show that intensity back to us or
Yeah,
they break our
damn.
trust. So
Oh, wow. Love that. That's so, yeah.
mini big three reading.
Yeah, wow, Jesus Christ. Just learning all the things today. Wow.
Depends on where they all are in the chart as well. Everyone has a whole ass birth chart, but
Yes,
just
of
the big
course.
three,
Yeah.
that's those aspects. And it's funny, your colors that you use in your branding for your business are very Piscean in nature, which is
Yeah, wow.
cool to sort of see, which is why Pisces was my first guess. Libra was
Yeah.
the second guess, and I'd be interested to see where your Libra is. It could potentially, if you've got Aries rising,
I mean,
no,
I can check for you.
let me have a look. Hold on. I want to see if it falls
I
into
don't
business
know.
because Libra has a really beautiful, like, flourish and artistic eye to everything.
Yeah.
And there's an aspect there of, I would associate it with stationary. I would, if I had to choose, I'd say Gemini and Libra are both like stationary vibes. If I had to choose a zodiac to represent stationary, which is such a weird thing to think of.
I love that correlation though of like how you can like see things in that way. It's like it's not how it's like how people they interpret different things. Like I was in the car with my partner yesterday, and I had randomly brought up. I was like, "How do you see music?" Like in your head, because like if you're online, have you ever seen how people like interpret the months of the year and they all like visualize it differently in their head? And for some people it's like a circle, it goes around, and it's like if you ever see it, it's so curious. Everyone views it so differently.
I visualize the months of the year. This is a good question.
Yeah,
Um,
I see it in your
feel like I
brain.
need examples, and then I'll see my example and be like, "That's it." Do you
Yeah, but oh, it's so hard because you don't want to be influenced either because some people have the most like the craziest way of how they see it. Like it's
I think
so like never imagine.
if I just try and think of the words, it's almost like they're written almost like in a line, and my brain immediately, whenever I think of months of the year, just goes January, February, March, and they almost like jump out as I'm counting them to figure out where we're at. I don't know. That's
See, the way I kind of see it is, if you're in a not in a diary, and I don't know if I've been influenced because I've had to make planners before, but like it's in this sort of like month block of like one, two, three. It's almost separated into the quarters of like, and it got yeah. I don't know. I think it's almost not mathematical, but it's like that. But for some people, it's almost like a flowing chart that like
yeah.
is like it's interesting. But yeah, when we were in the car yesterday, I was like, how do you sing music? Because in my head I almost see it as like a sound bar where things go like up and down based on like the note registry. And he's like, that's too much of a question and I don't know how to answer that. I'd have to like sit and think about it because he's like, I just can't, like, I don't know if I see it that way. But some people, because like obviously they have synesthesia and all
Yeah.
those, they say different, like see things differently. I'm like, how is it for you? And it was just like, again, plays into the, how you said you see Libra as being like a stationary, is I think that's what you,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's just like you see things in a different like way because that's how your brain works. Whereas, yeah, just for different topics, it's like that's so interesting. Anyways, I'll start waffling on now.
Well, especially with like the zodiac, because all of the zodiac signs have a vibe, have an essence, have their history, have their mythology, have their career associations, right? And I do a lot of career astrology. That's what a lot of people come to me for, career readings.
Yeah,
And so I have these little like segments as to what each one does or controls or rules over. And it just, that's how I see the world a lot of the time.
love
What
that.
is your birthday?
My birthday is 12th of March, 1993.
That's my daughter's birthday.
Really?
But not
Oh,
90, not like she's
not 93. Yeah.
did not have her when I was
I,
3.
yeah.
Um, yeah, she's a lot younger than you are. She's 7, but
Yeah.
yeah, 12th of
I
March.
yeah,
So
12th of
yeah, beautiful, beautiful date.
Hi, this is Hannah in the editing stage. Side note, I cut out all of the birth details in case you're like, how can you run a birth chart with just a birth date? You can't. End note.
So okay, so your career zone is in
Capricorn, your houses are
Hmm.
so equally spaced. This is beautiful. Uh, your career zone is in Capricorn and Aquarius. So that means the way that you work is going to be very pragmatic, sensible. You'll have a long term vision, probably a very long to do list, probably really big goals, but you'll also do it in a way that is innovative, using technology, and probably outside the norm of what people would see as business normal. So doing it
Interesting.
your own way, in
Oh,
an way. Now you do have Venus, which is conjunct. So that means it's like right next to your rising sign.
yeah.
So Venus is the planet that rules over Libra. So there's that element that comes in with
Yeah.
it. It also rules over Taurus. And it adds this element of beauty
Yeah.
and this element of like there's love, beauty, femininity. It's flowy. That's kind of the aspect that comes with Venus. And because
Yeah.
it's in the 12th house. So it's conjunct your rising sign, but it's in the 12th house,
Mhm.
which is the house of spirituality. So that
Yeah.
probably almost describes why what you're here to do includes this like random aspect to you of like including spirituality in what you're doing in this like really beautiful way. And you're like, I can't describe why, it just is. What's in your chart?
Yeah.
Written in the stars.
Yeah, there we go. That's a perfect example of I can't describe why, it just is. I think that's the perfect description of like just the whole thing. I'm like, yes, that's it. Like I can't describe it. It just how I am.
That's how it is. And your Libra, you have Jupiter in Libra. So that
Yep.
means like when I was talking about like that stationary aspect, or words, that sort of vibe, stories, that less stories, more like words and stationery and having things written down and neat and tidy and look good. All of
Mm-hmm.
that Jupiter rules over what brings you joy. So that sort of aspect brings you happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Good area to
Yeah.
align yourself with.
Yeah.
And it's in the
Accurate.
sixth house. So planners, perfectly attuned.
I love that. Mhm.
So I'll bring us back to my questions that I had in, aside from your astrology deep dive.
Thank you so much. That's like so interesting. I'm like going to go to work after this and be like, "How was your morning?" I'm like, "You have no idea. It was so interesting."
Well, I mean, this is the stuff that I love to do. It's what I find really
Yeah.
fun. So whenever I get an opportunity, I'm like, oh, do you know your birth time?
Yes. Well, it's so funny because obviously we've been like in like social friends for so long
Yeah.
that for you would be so curious because you're like, let me learn, like let me learn the things, and I,
Let me
I
see
love,
what it
but
looks
yeah,
like in a
we have that.
circle.
Yeah, but like how you not see music, but how you see people, and you can like chart it out and see it. Like it would just be so cool for you. I can only imagine.
It's super fun. It's one of my favorite things in the world, and I get to do it for my work. I would say,
Oh, you're so passionate, and that's so lovely.
yay. You've called your business an extension of yourself as a person. So, what is it
Mhm.
about your products that extend from you?
So for me, creativity is like so personal. It is like everything that I do because everything is an essence of my creativity, whether it's like the things that I design or the way I describe them. Like I have to do my product descriptions, it's the graphic design of my website because I do everything creatively, right? Photography, like everything, it just everything of myself gets just poured into what I do. So I think when I talk about my business, I feel like I'm just kind of talking about myself because everything has just come from my heart and soul. Like everything that people see and experience is just it's literally me. It's just they might see a journal and they might see a planner or they but it's also like intentionally crafted. I just pour myself into everything that I do like unapologetically and wholeheartedly. And I
Mm.
think that's why I say that because it's me.
Yeah. As a
Yeah.
fellow business owner, I would agree that I'm exactly the same. When you run it yourself, it has to be you. It has to be a version of you.
Anyone can not anyone can run a business, but anyone can start or run a business. But I think what makes what you do unique is literally you.
Hmm.
Like you, people can like make stationery, people can do what we do, but no one can do it the way you do it because you are you, and that's what makes it special. And people connect with the people behind things. So that's why for me, it's a natural thing for me to pour that of myself into what I do, but also, yeah, it's just important for me to do that and to show up and advocate for those things as well. Yeah.
What did you do
Yeah.
before this?
Before, oh, obviously Quirky's had its long like 10-year journey, but before this, my mum actually had like a boutique, like a fashion boutique,
Mhm.
and I worked helping her run that. So while I was there, I was like sort of given the tools to sort of, not given the tools, it was like given the freedom to sort of help her business. So her business had to come into the digital kind of age. It was when like online shopping started. So I had to build a website and I had to really like get on social media. So that was sort of like my training in those fields because it was like sink or swim. Like you have to do it to like evolve and stay up with the times. And I was happy to do it because I'm such a chronically online person. I was like, any excuse to like use a computer. But so for me it was, yeah, it was still a creative job because I was building a website. I was taking like photography, merchandising, fashion buying. So yeah, it's a really random thing to do before what I was doing, but does play into definitely what I do now.
It's not that random. I was in the building industry.
What? What? Tell me more. That is so random.
So I studied interior design.
What? That
I
is so cool.
I studied interior design and I was doing like color consulting, so helping people choose the colors for their homes and design the everything. And then I ended up going into sales and then
Yeah.
I ended up going into like a much bigger construction company and
Yeah. Wow.
doing more like a project management style thing from the customer point of view, so customer service based.
Yeah.
It taught me so much about customer service. Like
Yeah.
my customer service now is impeccable because of
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
I look back now and I'm like, I can see why I did it because my dad is a builder and it was sort of that just
Yeah.
that way that I followed on. But I'm
Yes.
very, very glad that my Saturn return knocked that out of me. So it brought me
Yeah.
here.
That's so interesting as well because like I mean I naturally followed my mum in that business. So for you to do the same, I was like, girl.
Yeah. Well, I think those strong ties of like wanting to prove something for me, a lot of it was like trying to prove something to my dad, which
Yeah.
now doing this, he's still a Christian boomer guy that just does not understand what I'm doing, doesn't want to know about it. He's like, you know what, it's not my thing. I like he's very separate
Yeah.
from what I do now. But if I was still in
Yeah.
building, he'd want to know everything. So
Hmm.
it's a little bit of a loss in like, okay, to be myself, I have to lose that respect aspect. But you know what? It's
Yeah. It's worth it. It's so
Mhm.
worth it. Yeah. And just imagine if you didn't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the thing you just think of like the sliding doors of like all that the different paths of like
Mhm.
if I didn't do this, where would I be? And it's just like I'm sure you'd still be killing it and doing amazing, but like at what cost? And like just to know that where you are now, it's just like wow.
I
It's
would
just it's so
definitely. So one of the reasons was my husband got into the Air Force, and
yeah,
I was just about to sit my exam to get my builder's registration, and
yeah,
so it was like, okay, if I get that, then we can't move. Like I can't start a building company in Victoria and then move every 2 to 3 years because you,
yeah.
you
That's
need
so true.
you need to build up trades, you need to build up, you need certain licenses per state, they change. Your registration
Yeah,
is by state. Like I just would not be able to do it. And so it was kind of like, okay, well, we've just have to choose your career or my career. And that's what sort
mm,
of came down to. And I was like, well, now what am I going to do? And I had this huge identity
yeah.
loss. Oh my gosh.
That would have been so hard.
It was, but
That'd be really hard.
we're here now and I'm so grateful for it. But I would have
Yeah,
the goal for me was to do straw bale home building.
yeah. Oh, what? That'd be so
I know
cool.
it's like eco-friendly and I love straw bale homes. They have such a good energy to them. So, but that's also really only possible in like Victoria and Tasmania because
Yeah.
the rest of the country it'd be
Mm.
too hot for that.
Oh, yes. I love learning that about you. That is so interesting. That adds like such a like an interesting layer to like because obviously I only know you online as like with what you do, but then to learn this other and of like, oh my God, I never would have guessed, but that is so
Yeah.
cool and I find that interesting.
So I found it really hard going from working in construction where I literally wore suits and heels every day, right? And was like signing
Yeah.
like presenting contracts in
Yes.
executive
Corporate.
meetings to now having to like almost deconstruct professionalism. And that's one thing that
Really.
I've noticed with your stuff. You do that beautifully. When I buy something
Thank
off your website, I get an email telling me I have a cute butt. Like
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's your personality that shines through. And I think seeing other business owners like yourself do stuff like that has made me go, I'm allowed to be more myself, and that's okay.
Yes.
Sometimes you just need someone else to be like, if they've got you have a nice butt in their email, then I can also do silly things like that, and no one's gonna like bat an eyelid. I'm not gonna get thrown out of the
And if they
doing a
do,
lot of
it's just
business anymore.
literally, and I think that that's actually such a good point and a scary thing because I sometimes think like, oh, it'd be really fun to say this, but I'm like, it's that like, do I, don't I thing, and you don't know where like, say for example, like I sometimes love dropping like a bit of a swear in my email,
Yep.
like just because I can, and like at the end of the day, like everyone swears, like it's relatable, and it's just like it just breaks down this barrier of like you're a
Mhm.
person. But then
Yep.
also, I'm like, someone on the other hand could just take this completely the wrong way. And I'm like, well, what's the, not the payoff of that, but like, I just want to be myself. And why shouldn't I just be myself? But then it's also kind of like, I just don't want to deal with people, like, if they
Yeah.
see it the wrong way. Yeah, it's just always so scary just to put yourself out like that, particularly in a setting where you're expected to be professional. It's just like, but I don't really want to be professional. Like when I sometimes talk to people, I like to call myself professionally unprofessional. I
Mhm.
just be professional, but like I don't want to be how people expect and just formal. I'm like, no, I just want to have normal conversations with people. Like, tell me what you do in your spare time. Yeah,
Yeah.
corporate, yeah, there's a place for it, but like, just not for me.
I find corporate is very like you have to wear a mask.
Yeah, you really do.
A lot of that I think comes down to because I now have started allowing myself to swear in my content and in my uh, email newsletter, and
Yeah,
I just recorded the like welcome module 0 for level 2 of my psychic divination course.
yeah,
And now that I'm no longer affiliated with a third party when creating it, I'm like, I can swear now. So
yes.
I'm gonna say
Oh my
something.
God. Yeah, do
And
it.
it's freeing, but then there's part of me that's like, oh, but is someone not going to buy from me because of that? And then there's like
I
your livelihood depends on it, and so you're like, oh, but then I'm like, oh, but then if that pushes them away, they probably weren't for me anyway.
Well, that's it. Oh my God, I love that point so much. Is it if it pushes them away, they weren't for me. And I think
Mhm.
that is and such a driving point of like if people don't vibe with you, that is also okay. And I think there's this like I don't know if you feel it, but like being in an online space as well, I feel insecurity and like need to be liked. It's just kind of like you don't want to like rub people the wrong way. It's almost like people pleasing tendencies without people pleasing, but like you just want people to like see you in a positive way. But then also it's like why should I dull my shine and the sort
Yes.
of person I am just to like keep people who are probably not my people happy anyways. It's
Yes.
just like I have to sacrifice those parts of myself for like other people who essentially don't give a shit. Like it's just like it's all surface level on the internet anyways. It's just like the people who will be there and the ones who aren't like see you later. I don't
Yep.
care.
And I think,
Yeah.
especially for yourself in such a creative industry, your artwork is you. You kind of have to just honor who you are with that. You can't dull that or make it for. I'm sure that would be hard with business as well because you have to follow trends
Yeah.
of what people are buying and having to create for that. How do you
Yeah.
do that? I guess making what you
Hmm.
want to make versus making what the people want.
Oh my God, that is so interesting. That is really hard. And it's hard because they both for me go hand in hand. So like I have like the longest list of things that I want to make and do. Like I always have ideas and I write them all down and I probably forget some and they come back all the time. But it's I create whatever like my heart is calling to. So if
Mm-hmm.
I feel really strongly about like I really love this idea of I want to make this because I want to make it. It's like part of it's so hard to like nail down in words. It's just a feeling that I get. I really want to make this because at the end of the day, like everything I do, I'm like, I make it because I want to make it. And rain, hail, or shine, I'm doing it, don't care. But
Mm-hmm.
like, element now of like, I have. like obviously my employees that I have to pay, like my bills, like just moving the business out of mum's garage, like oh my God, like the bills are like just pile up all the time. So I have to be really careful with how I make things and make sure the things that I'm making that like people actually want them. But in turn, I don't know, how do I make sure that they stay up with trends or what people want? Because I think there's an element of me that like not that doesn't care. I do care, but I try like get feedback directly from the people.
Mm.
So like I try and include people in my creative process of like, hey, I have this like idea. What do you think? Do you see it as being like something that's genuinely helpful to you? And if I were to do that, do you like this, this, and this? Would you like to see this? Give me your suggestions. So then there's almost like this kind of like community involvement on like the things that I make, and I see people's enthusiasm about things. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's more for me like gut instinct and intuition with making something rather than like being validated externally from other people. I don't know.
Mm.
It's important that people like the product because otherwise my business doesn't work. But
Yeah.
then part of me is like, no, I just believe in what I'm making. And if I believe in it and I care about it, then it should work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you said it's intuitively guided as well, because I think that's very Piscean in nature. And that's also very just such an artistic view of the world. And I love it. But I guess,
Yeah.
I mean, for example, your cups, they weren't
Yes.
doing well. So you had to make a shift. Were you still
Yeah.
loving making them, or had you lost that spark?
I think I lost it. I think I lost
Mm.
the spark. So obviously I went from shift like I started because obviously Quirky Cup Collective cup is in the name, which is so confusing. But now I like to think, sorry to quickly like segue, but I see cup as like as a sort of I'm here to fill your cup as
Mm.
rather embodiment of a cup now. I'm here to fill the cup, which I really, really like. So obviously, yeah, hand painted was its own era, and then I went into my printed mugs. But for me, I think as I grow as a person, Quirky grows, and we evolve and change together. And for me, creating cups and mugs, although I loved it and it was the sort of foundation of my business, they were actually like really hard to produce. Like the actual graphic design of the product itself, like when I was printing them, because they're round in shape, it's just like coming up with the graphics for that to print properly. Bloody nightmare,
I bet.
nightmare. Like sending and shipping fragiles,
So fragile.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Like we thankfully, I think rare, like very minimal breakages, like it was pretty good. But even then, just I think the effort that I had to go through of making them and the grind of trying to move them, I was just like, I don't feel passionate about this as much as I do. Like
Mm.
it wasn't that like I didn't do them because they weren't selling. They did sell, not like to what my other things do now, but like people can tell when I like love something and I don't love something because I don't put everything into it. And if I don't feel passionately about something, like I don't know. It's just it's my energy has to go in 100% to something, and I have to love it for it to like work. And I just lost that with the cup. Sorry, I'm not like articulating this very well, but I just lost the love. I lost the love, and I was like, I'm moving on to my next love, and I haven't fallen out of love with it yet. I
Yep.
think it just felt right to me because I was like, this is just where I feel like my heart is. And not to say that I won't come back to cups. I really would love to at some point. It's just there's this delicate balancing act and only so much creative energy I can give things before I'm like, whoa, like I'm overwhelmed and I have like this crazy business to run, and it's like I don't get to do the fun creative stuff all the time. And yeah, it's a balancing act, honestly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite product at the moment that you make?
My upcoming sugar and spice collection on a visual like level I love because I had to really push myself to because there's so many variations of this like this design, and it oh actually you would love this, but a lot of the designs that I have, they sort of visually come to me and they're sort of almost fleshed out in my brain, and then they sort of like they trickle their way out and like come up like they come into these beautiful physical things that I can share with people. But sugar and spice for me was like this sort of like slow dreaming process, and then I knew when I knew, and I'm like, I need to make this.
Mm.
And that visually I'm obsessed with, and that's my current. I love it. But in terms of like a product that I love, it's really hard because I sometimes pin things down to like usefulness,
Mhm.
not useful, like what do I use the most? And I have to say, it's like my desktop planner. It's
Yep.
just this little like A4 thing, and it's like when I make my actual diary plans, it's almost like the weekly spread of that, but just on a piece of like paper on my desk. And
Mhm.
I really use it every week because it keeps me so organized, and I just it just saves my bacon all the time. And
Mhm.
then in with that, obviously my pens, because my pens are so beautiful to write with. Yeah, even me, like I've just got it on the desk at the moment. Like,
I have your pen and I don't where here it is. I got the pack of like pink, teal, and purple pens. And I
yeah,
just bought the little reusable ink things.
yeah, cute. Yeah, love. I love them too, and I just fell into the pen world, and I've just never looked back at. But I just love using them. So obviously, when I'm using my planner, like my pens in my bag, on my multiple desks, bedside table, in my kitchen, like they are everywhere. They're like it's like confetti. You can't get rid of them.
But the good thing is you've got something that's useful and you've made it pretty. Like that's wonderful. It's so much
Well,
nicer when you have a pretty thing that you have to use all the time. And it says you are magic on there.
yes. Well, that's it. I think there's like magic in the mundane, right? Like things that are like everyday objects, and you can just like you don't have to have just like a BIC pen. You can have little things and little pockets of joy in all the little things that you have and do. They don't have to be like plain and boring. Like, yes, I will have a little slut for smut pen that I will secretly in my bag.
I bought
Um,
the slut for smut bookmark for my
yeah,
friend.
I love that. It's so apologetic.
I'm gonna
I
give it
love
to her
it
with
so
kiss
much.
notes. It's so good. I
Yeah,
was gonna
it's
get
so
it for me, but I thought my kids might have questions because they can read. Yep.
yeah, that's fair enough. That is so fair. But yeah, so just to have these little pockets of like pretty just in little places, it's like yeah, it's just a little thing and it makes me happy. And
I love that with Capricorn, where your business business zone is in your astrology chart, which is very pragmatic and practical. All of those things were pragmatic and practical, and you said
yeah, they very much are. They're very pragmatic and practical.
so. One little tip for anyone listening: if you do have things like the pens, so the pens, for example, there's a range of colors. I use the purple one, and it's not purple ink; it's just a purple
Yeah,
outside. I'm sure you can get other colored inks. You've got the other colored inks. I just use the black one. But
yeah,
I use my purple pen when I'm planning out my like intuitive, witchy, when I'm writing my like journal thoughts, anything where I'm trying to tap into like that crown chakra, bringing ideas down for my book, brainstorming, anything where I'm like writing down my dreams, I'm using my purple one. When I'm writing like the course content for psychic divination, I'm using my purple pen. Right, that's like what I'm using it for. When I use the blue one, the teal one, that's for when I'm trying to figure out like the title of a blog post or what are my top points in this lesson, like that. I switch that up because that's more like throat chakra aligned and that's about communication. So I'm like, I'm trying to be clearly communicating, so I'm using my blue pen and I'm tuning into the energy of blue. And that's a really fun little witchy tip for anyone listening of how you can use a mundane item witchily.
I love that. I love that you like, so for me, I always say that I make these things and I'm because I just want to make them, but then to see what they mean for people, like
Mm.
I think I'm thinking like I'm just like I just make silly little pens and I make silly little journals and silly little things because I love making them. But then to like have people talk about like what I make and what they mean to them is just like wow. Like here you associate the colors and with how you like use your different pens for different things. I'm like, wow, I never would have thought someone would do that. And it's so beautiful and so interesting. And I
Yep.
just love that interpretation of like what you see that product as being. And I'm like, here I am on my end. I'm like, pretty colors.
Colors are magic. Like there is a whole section of witchcraft that is color magic. And you know,
Yeah.
people use color magic in the clothes that they wear. They use it in their artwork and marketing. And I do a lot of oh gosh, it is raining so heavy here. I don't know if you can hear it. I have washing on
No,
the line. Oh no. Um, it hasn't rained in ages though, so it's very good. Very good to get some rain. But it's very noisy. It's distracting me.
I
I
know, sorry.
I sometimes do astrology reports for people's businesses. So, like a
Yeah.
business report, and that will tell you things like what your marketing should be, right? And
Yeah.
I've used it for my own as well. Wherever the rising sign is for your business, that's a really good way to figure out the colors for your business as well. So, like, color magic can do amazing stuff in terms of choosing
Yeah.
colors for business, choosing colors for the mood that you're in, for the goal that you have. Also, you can pick a teacup, right? And if you're feeling a little bit under the weather, maybe you use a green teacup because that's really
Yeah.
healing. That color is really healing, right? Or maybe a black one if you feel like you need a little bit of protection because you're a little bit vulnerable that day. Like, it's amazing the stuff you can do.
I love that. I love the association of color. I love again how you see color. It's so beautiful.
How do you see color?
Oh my God, don't ask. I'm gonna have an existential crisis of how I see bloody color. Yeah, I don't see color. I think I just see color full stop all the time everywhere because it lives and breathes in my life in
Mm-hmm.
every little, but I don't see color as like I don't associate it with things necessarily. Oh, actually, maybe I do, but maybe subconsciously.
Mm. When I was doing
Yeah.
interior design, and this actually feeds into what I do, right? We learned
Yeah.
about color psychology because it
Yes.
literally
Mm.
affects us, right? So when I'm
Yeah.
teaching, I have a module in my course on psychic divination. And when I'm teaching that module, which is on symbolism, I go into the color psychology because color
Mhm.
symbolism is a huge part of divination in general.
Yeah.
But it's cool because I'm like, I actually studied this. Like, I can relate this back to what
Yeah.
I studied finally. But things like red, for example, red as a color, and I love this, is my favorite fact in the entire universe. If you paint a room red, firstly, red has longer light waves, so it feels closer to us. So if you paint a
Yeah.
way red, it will feel shorter than if you paint it blue, which has shorter light waves. So it looks further
Yeah.
out. So if you're in a red room, right, and those light waves they're longer, so they're closer to us, it feels intimate. So
Yeah.
there's
Interesting.
this feeling of intimacy, and red is an intimate color, and all of the emotions we associate with red are intimate: anger, sex,
Yeah.
passion, right?
Yeah.
Like they're love, they're very intimate emotions, right? It's very like close. Whereas blue, we associate usually with things like maybe communicating, or a lot of
Yeah.
people associate it with things like legal stuff. All of that feels a little bit separate and a little bit aside from that, depending on the tone of blue. Sometimes it's dark and emotional. Now, with red, the really interesting thing is if you stand in a red room, your heart rate will go up, your blood
Yeah.
pressure will go up, your metabolism will be elevated, and all of these things happen to you even if you're blind,
Wow.
even if you
Even if you're,
can't see the color. Isn't that cool?
that is really cool.
I
But
think it's
that's like, wow.
so we perceive
I,
color with more than our eyes, basically. And there's more studies out at the moment. So when I was talking about green being healing before, there
yeah.
is literal studies. I can't figure out what the citing is for them now, but I spent a lot of time on PubMed because I am disabled and have chronic illnesses. But there is
I
a
love
study
that.
out at the moment that green light, so green LED lights,
Yep.
spending 1 to 2 hours in green light every day changes the way your brain interprets pain. So I have
What?
green fairy lights in my bedroom, and I just have them on all the time so that my brain can start interpreting pain differently in a way that's better for me with chronic migraine disease.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
That is so, I can't, wow. You have to give
Yeah,
me the, I would love to hear how that goes for you because that is so interesting.
it's
Because I,
fascinating.
as we talk about color, because I'm thinking of like the way I see color. I think I don't know if I see it a particular way, but I feel differently about color, and I think that plays into the psychology of different things. And like say for example, if I were to think of green, like green is like a very nature color to me, which is why it probably feels really healing and very
Yeah.
grounding
Yep.
because it's a color associated with like the natural world. So
Mm.
if you can think of like colors by association of what you know those like things to be, but like yeah, like yellow is warm and it's inviting and it's friendly. I
Happy.
think color to me is emotion, and that it literally it just plays into what you said. Like color is emotion and it's an expression, but
Mm.
but influences us in a lot of different ways.
I bought the green Kindle one because for me, it's like a dark foresty green, which makes me feel
Yeah.
like I'm slowing down, which is when I read, I'm slowing down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
Awesome.
and it's velvet. So it feels like, oh, this is like a secret little slowdown moment for me to have my little, soft, I don't know. I have soft Sundays where I usually read and try not to use my phone. Soft girl Sundays. Feel free to use this. It's just like a slow morning. I have my cup of tea or my coffee and a book, and that's what that makes me think of. Soft girl Sundays.
Yeah,
Soft
I
person.
love that. What do you call it? Yeah, soft person Sundays. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really been talking about green actually, because green, I'm really drawn to green as a person, and maybe because I myself need that like the slow down and the like the calming
Grounding. Yeah.
of green. But then I actually, when I think back to the things that do really well in my shop, green and black I think are like top colors. Like I think black being like you said a protection color, but
Yeah.
then green being grounding, and but then green being grounding and in the products that I offer, like they are meant to be self-care, like
Mm.
slow living, like permission to pause products. So the fact that like those people like look to those colors and they're probably more drawn to them says a lot, and that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right about the green being the nature aspect. So in that study, they don't technically know why green helps our brain to reprocess pain signals. But one theory is potentially when we're out in like a forest or a jungle, the light filters through the leaves and it is a green light. So
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
essentially part of it. And when I used to work in the jungle for a couple of months in the Amazon, I didn't have any migraines when I was there. I've read
Wow.
I've read through my journals and I usually get between like 6 and 20 migraines per month. So when I read through my journal, I was like, that was weird that I didn't get any then. And I thought it was just, I don't know. I don't know what I thought it was. But
Yeah.
it was probably the fact that A, lots of green light, and B, I had a nap every day in a hammock. And C, there was no electricity anywhere.
Yeah.
There was no electricity, there was no hot water. It was literally the middle of the Amazon, hours to
Yeah.
the closest town. So yeah, I think all of those things helped.
That's wild. Also, sidebar, that is so many migraines. Like, Jesus Christ. That
Yeah.
is wild.
Do you know how
Poor
long it
love.
took me to admit that it was a disability? Literally
Oh,
like 30, 31 years for me to
no,
admit that.
girlfriend, that is chronic. That is chronic
Chronic.
shit.
Mhm.
Like that's debilitating. I think as soon as anything's debilitating and it affects your life, like you have to be like, no, this is a disability. If it affects your everyday, like, but like for an extensive period of time, like that's a disability. Like
Yeah.
that is,
I
oh,
signed on to there's like a Migraine Australia website and it said uh, migraine is the most disabling disability next to quadriplegia. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? But I can walk. Like that was my
yeah,
brain's version of disability. Like I don't need a wheelchair. Like I can walk, I can move. Some days I'm totally fine, but it's just the
yeah,
fact that even on the days where I'm totally fine, I'm still excessively monitoring everything I do so I don't bring one on. And it's,
yeah.
oh, I actually can't do that because it might cause this, or I can't do this because it might do that. And do I have all my meds on me? Have I taken all of this? Have I made sure I've avoided that? Like it's a
The
complete
mental load is exhausting.
uh-huh. Stigmatized though, because people are like, oh, it's just a headache. And it's like, well,
No, it's not.
no.
No, it's not. It's not. Sorry, but it's nice to see. I hope the green light like works for you, and I can't wait to. I'll check in a few months and be like, hey girl, how's your like therapy going?
Well,
That
the
sounds amazing.
green light, I've got a few new meds at the moment. I have an amazing pain specialist who got me onto something called a Jovi. It's a injectable medication. It's called a
Okay.
PRP inhibitor, calcium gene peptide, something or other.
Yeah.
That is helping. I'm still having lots of like I don't have many pain-free days, but the intensity's
Yeah.
gone down a lot. So that is amazing.
Okay,
That
that's good.
combination of other stuff has been life-changing just in the last 6 months. So
Yeah. Wow.
we're seeing, but there's no cure. There's no cure for it. So it's just kind of
I know. It's pain management, isn't it? It's yeah, in symptom management. Yeah.
exactly. So side note, disability awareness.
I know. Oh, my poor love.
Sometimes even just acknowledging that
Yeah.
something, for anyone out there that's listening, acknowledging that something is actually a disability takes a lot because we all have internalized ableism. And
Yes.
then you can actually start to reach out and do the things that you need to like give yourself permission to like, it's okay if I don't work full time. It is okay if I don't, do this,
Yeah.
this. So that's a part of it as well. But back to your
Yeah.
business. What What are the magical styles that you're cooking up? You said sugar and spice. Is there anything else
Yes.
that's coming out soon?
Yes, kind of. So I'm terrible because I'm not like I need to get better at it, but like forward planning is not
Well, it
in
doesn't
my
really go with artistic inspiration, does it?
No, I'm very like what it's not spontaneous, but yeah, creatively spontaneous, and it's sort of like it's terrible because I need to draw from the well to like keep my business going, but sometimes the well is empty because everything is like just so overwhelming. But I've finally hired myself a creative helper, so
Cool.
like I bringing like all these ideas that I have and have someone to help me create them because that for me
Where do
is
you find a
like
person like that?
well, this is the thing. Like, I was like, how do I find someone? Because as someone, as you would know and understand, I put so much of myself, of myself into my business that I was like, letting go of things is so scary and so difficult. I was like, and I think that's why the process took so long because I was like, whoever I get, I have to be aligned with. Like we have to be able to communicate, see eye to eye. And I know that's like in the perfect world, like you would want someone just like you, right?
Mm.
But I think I like the closest thing too. And it was really funny because I put out that call on TikTok. I
Yeah.
was just like, as opposed to like jumping on the LinkedIn or on the job seek, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be like, throw this out into the universe and be like, hey, like algorithm do your thing, here's what I'm looking for, I need this kind of person. And I think it was maybe 40 people
Mm.
like sent stuff through, and there was this one girl and I'm like, oh my god, like her art is insane. And I wouldn't even say it's like my art. Her art is very much her own art and is very different from mine, but there's things that I saw in her art that I was just like, I see, I see your like your vision. Yeah, she's with us now, and she's like she's physically like she works on location as well. So she's an Adelaide girl, which I love because having that like in-person communication is so important to me. And sorry to gush about Bond, but yeah, she's amazing. With her now that I'm because at the moment I'm trying to like run the business and I haven't had a lot of time for creativity, but I have ideas. It's just the time to bring them to life. So with her, I've been cooking up like a new design based around sort of like the fantasy and fiction elements, which is so funny having this conversation of like spirituality. I was like, well, funny thing you say that because like we're working on this, but it would
Mm.
essentially be, I'm pretty sure I want it to be like a black design, and it has like elements. It has like because it's based on like fantasy books and reading, but all those play into like magic and spirituality anyways. There's like a sword, there's some overflowing chalices, there's like I think a couple snakes, there's clouds, there's stars. And yeah, I feel really good about where that's coming. It's still in progress and it won't be until like early next year, but that's something we're cooking up at the moment that I'm really excited to see.
Very cool.
We don't have it 100% down yet, but it is there and we're in the kitchen, we're cooking.
Cool. I love it. Absolutely. So, whereabouts can people find you easiest online? Where are you showing up?
Oh, I would say TikTok, Instagram, and just my website. I think those are my big three on the internet. Yeah, those are my spaces that I
Perfect.
should probably got the most. Yeah.
Awesome. I will pop them all in the description box below for this episode. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Sydonie. It's been an
No,
absolute pleasure. And yeah, everyone needs to go and check out your stuff and grab themselves some beautiful, magical planners, stationery, pouches, all sorts of stuff because it is wonderful.
thank you so much.
Isn't she so adorable? And didn't I tell you that you would learn something in today's episode? Couple of little housekeeping things to round out some of the things we chatted about. You might have heard me reference my psychic divination course. Now, level 1 of that course will be opening up to brand new students in November of 2024. And this is the last time I'm going to be running that course live. This is the last opportunity to do live psychic development circles with me. If you miss this, you can do the replays, but you're going to miss out on that live aspect of me working through that course with you. There's a waitlist on the website if you want to make sure that you don't miss out. Second thing I wanted to talk about was my migraines, because This episode was recorded just before I went to Europe. So this was like, I think August 12th. And now it's coming out like 6 weeks later. And just that additional month of, or it's 2 additional doses of Ajovy, the medication that I'm on, if anyone out there is a migraine sufferer, has been almost like life-changing. That puts me up to 6 months on that new medication. I had 2 migraines in the last month. Only 2. I only had to take my triptan medication twice. I cannot describe to everyone listening how phenomenal of a change this is. After literally 15 years of searching for a preventative and failing every single option the doctors tried, I'm blown away. It's ecstatic. I'm having the best time of my life. I feel like I've got my life back. I am over the moon. And it's so funny because this has been on my like manifestation list with my moon manifesting, that I am migraine free, or I'm free from migraines. That has been a consistent thing every single month that I have been trying to manifest. And I always knew, I was like, will this ever happen? But I just was like, I'll keep it on there anyway. Who knows? And now I feel like it's happening. Oh my gosh. And when I mentioned that migraines are the most disabling, I just want to read out that section to clarify. So migraine attacks are recognized by the World Health Organization as among the most disabling illnesses, comparable to dementia, quadriplegia, and active psychosis. So when you have friends who have migraine disease and chronic migraine, they're not being dramatic. It's a lot. And one of the hard things is it does differ person to person, but it's definitely not just a headache. If you are someone with chronic migraine, with disability, chronic illness, any of those sorts of things, I do have an episode on low energy witchcraft just for you. Now, next week on the podcast, we will be talking about closed practices and making sense of incorporating different elements from different traditions that may or may not be a part of your heritage, ancestry, all that jazz. So it's a juicy one. Have a magical rest of your week, and I hope to see you there.